Woo! All right, everybody, we're going forward.
Yeah,
Well, let's get into the real episode here. So I'd always love to start with, I'd love to get the 90-second pitch. One, who are you and what is your company?
sure. Yeah, my name is Adam Lazar. I'm the CEO and founder of Asarasi. Asarasi is the Latin for the maple tree. And what we do is we actually harvest a pure plant source of water from the discarded byproducts of the maple industry. So I think
Hmm.
pure water comes from the inside of a tree. We buy that from family farms, help them generate a greater income on their existing crop with no extra labor. And we convert that into beverages of a variety of different kinds, sparkling waters, probiotic seltzers, and probiotic maple nectar sodas.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really cool. I have honestly, when I saw this and was preparing, I was like, I've never heard of this at all. I've never thought about it. I know I ate some maple syrup in the past, but did not understand this whole process at all. I'd love to go back. Like, what's the origin story here? What's kind of the starting point? What's the first step forward in this?
Yeah, well, the genesis of this, other than harvesting maple sap as a kid, and boiling in from buckets, really basic hobbyist sort of experience to, walking into a maple farm, a very high-end, technologically advanced maple farm in 2008 with my daughter as an experience to do something on a cold afternoon in Vermont. And, I walk in and I see this farm harvesting, about 1 million gallons of maple sap, and they were processing it with reverse osmosis. And it was a new technology to the industry at the time. And what all that does is takes the sugar molecule out of the sap by separating the sugar from the sap. And once that's accomplished, you end up with this hyper concentrated maple product, maple syrup that they boil down for, further color and bricks content. But the byproduct, which is 97% of their entire harvest, I was watching him dump down the drain. And I couldn't believe my eyes. I'm like, 97% of your crop goes to waste. So I started asking the farmer about this and he goes, yeah. So what does this taste like? And he handed me this really crisp, clean, delicious drink of pure water that came out of a tree, for crying out loud. So why aren't you selling this? It's like, for every gallon of syrup you're making, you're throwing away like 50 gallons of this really great tasting stuff. And he goes, who would want it? It's just water. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So that's the origin story. And
That's
it's
great.
stuck in my brain ever since. And what happened was I moved to Los Angeles and I was making products for, the Department of Defense in Vermont. So clearly connected to like water
Obviously.
from trees, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
I moved to Los Angeles doing similar work in the law enforcement, making products for law enforcement members. And, living through an epic drought, I just thought to myself, hey, one person can really make a difference if we just put our minds to it. Why don't I go and make beverages that don't consume groundwater and at least be part of the solution, not a part
Sure.
of the
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So
origin.
I guess as you're starting to make those steps, what are some of the first things you're starting to think about? Are you looking for team members? Are you looking for funding right away? Just how do you start to think about, all right, this is an idea, I can see it, but just what are those first steps? And maybe how did you kind of mitigate that risk a little bit as you're kind of stepping into a new world?
I've made hundreds of different products, that some are patents and some are, from optics and ballistics and, so beverages are quite easy in comparison. However, there's still a lot of unknowns and a lot of risks that you cut a check for, $25,000 and you have to try something. So, you have to figure that there's some risk involved and it might not go the way you want.
All right, so we're back here. We're back. Get a little jump in here. So I want to go back because we were just talking a little bit about risk, talking about the changes that you had to make, and just how almost any sort of business that you jump into, you have risk. I guess when you're looking at this, are you thinking also maybe around partnerships at all? Are you thinking about manufacturing, where you want to do this? Just what are some of those early thoughts and conversations around seeing this idea and wanting to just explore it and jump into it?
Yeah, well, the first step of it was just where do you start, right? It's such
Hmm.
a seemingly insurmountable task. There's so many things to do, and you have to think to yourself, "Okay, I have to eat the elephant, and I can't eat it all at once. Which part do I start taking a bite at it, right?" And it's all going to be a little undesirable no matter where you start. But eventually, you'll make your way through it if you stick with it long enough. And so, the first step was talking to a lot of farms, talking to a lot of industry experts, the folks at Cornell and UVM in Vermont, and saying, hey, what's your experience with this ingredient or this byproduct at the time? And no one had heard of it.
Yeah.
Talked to, so I did a lot of talking, family, friends, hey, what do you think? Is this a good idea? You
Mhm.
should go all in on this. Is this crazy? And yeah, I mean, when you tell people you discovered a new source of water that can actually change the way people consume water resources, people look at you like you're nuts.
Mhm.
It used to be like kind of a bad crazy, and now it's like a good crazy because they're like, wow, that guy really knew, that guy did what he said he was going to do, So I think it's all a lot of risk, the fear of failure is there. One of the big things I did when it first started was I said, why don't I just apply to the business plan competition and just see, where we end up. And I applied to 43 North. Right? You can't get bigger than 43 North. They're the world's biggest $5 million business plan competition. The first inaugural year they held it, I applied. And out of 13,000 and some change applications, we ended up in the top 100. And I thought that was
Wow.
spectacular. I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
That's amazing.
we didn't win, but I was fine with that. I was like, it's validated the idea. I didn't even have a product, I didn't even have a
Mm.
website. So, uh, second year came by, same application, no dice. Third year comes by, we won $500,000 from the state from
That's
the
amazing.
competition, and that's how we got our start. I think the stick with itness is the most im important thing that I've learned in my career, no matter what you're trying to accomplish is that quit, throw it away from your vocabulary, right? It doesn't exist anymore. Quit is not an option. It's just either do or do not. And so
Mhm.
you can get up in the morning and say, I do or I did. And can you look at yourself in the mirror and behold yourself that way? So, yeah, I think, when I first started out, there's a lot of risks, there's a lot of challenges. But if you just keep getting up in the morning and say, what's the one thing I'm going to do today to eat the elephant or make my world better tomorrow, right? What's that one little time?
Yeah.
Suddenly you got 10,000 little things you got to do. And here we are.
Yeah. What do you think has changed maybe in the last 12 months for you as a founder? Has there been any big changes? Are you focusing on new things? But what's maybe like the last 12 months look like?
Last 12 months have been kind of a whirlwind. Well, we launched two brand new product lines. First, we launched Nectar Pop probiotic soda using a beautiful new ingredient from the maple market called maple
Mm,
nectar and
mm,
using tree water as a base and maple nectar. It comes down to a transformative beverage in terms of the functional soda category. It's the only organic, clean label, no stevia, no erythritol, no sucralose, all organic ingredients that utilize a fantastic new sweetener from the maple market to create just a tremendously delicious beverage. And so in the last year, we've developed that from the kitchen to the production environment. And after launching that just about 75 days ago to retailers, Sprouts Farmers Markets has picked us up in
mm.
480 stores, and that'll be available April 13th
Wow.
in
That's
most of
great.
those stores. Costco Los Angeles has picked up our new line of probiotic seltzers. So you'll see Asarasi probiotic seltzer come into Costco Los Angeles and Hawaii in about 60 clubs. And then we won the Wakefern Wellness Health and Wellness Summit out of Parsippany, New Jersey. And they run right around 380 total stores of ShopRite, Morton Williams, and Gourmet Garage banners. And they'll be launching both lines of our probiotic seltzer as well as our Nectar Pop probiotic soda in those
Mm,
stores. So about 1,000 new stores of distribution in just the last 60 days from launching two lines from ideation and commercialization over the past 12 months. It's been a lot of
wow.
work,
That's
a
a lot
lot
of
of
work.
the reaction from consumers and retailers has been fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah, from an idea to, commercialization in under a year.
Yeah. Now, so you mentioned obviously a lot of retail. So it sounds like you knew right from the ground up that you wanted to get into retail, or did you think more just being an online,
Yeah.
subscription based type of thing, or are you doing a little bit of both? But it does seem like from what you're describing, retail was the big focus. It sounds like.
I started online because that's your most easy access to
Hmm.
consumers, right? And I think it was a
Yep.
Kickstarter actually. And
Mm,
I think we raised, I don't know, $10,000 day one on a
yeah.
Kickstarter. And that allowed us to kind of just test the waters, so to speak, right? And say, hey, do
Yeah.
people like this? Do they care? And if they do care, so what? What's going to keep them engaged? And why is this important? We started online and we continue to offer our products online. So we have, glass bottles and cans. So we have a little differentiated offering for, the various consumers' preferences out there. And so we offer all of our products online. But, consumer retail is really where it's at in terms of volume.
Hmm.
If you want to compete, head to head with, say, a Poppy or an Olipop, a Culture Pop, or even a Pellegrino, it's, you got to be found and be made aware of in stores. So
Right.
it's really, the focus there. Excuse
So,
me.
and how do you think about do you have like sort of new products mapped out to some degree? Do you think, hey, we just need to have 2 to 4, or is there sort of a formula that you think about around, new products when you want to come to bring new things to market? Just testing what you currently have. Like, how do you sort of balance that a little bit?
Well, yeah, new product development I love new product development just from a point of view of it's exciting. It gets
Hmm.
people engaged. People want to try different things and people's preferences change over time. And so how I think about product development is if there's a way to democratize the use of this natural water ingredient in the marketplace in a meaningful way and bring broad consumer exposure to what we're doing that will help and assist the family farms that we represent. then we should strongly consider what that market opportunity is at that time.
Mm.
And so we don't have a massive funnel of new product ideations. I mean, you can make anything from baby formula to beer with
Right.
water, right? So,
Yeah.
when we won the Anheuser-Busch 100 Plus Accelerator, they gave us an investment to then come and do a couple pilots with some of their breweries. And we
Mm.
did the zero groundwater beer, the Goose Island beer company as part of their craft alliance. We did a
Mhm.
beer with those folks, and we did a beer with their Wicked Weed Brewing Company. And it was just a fantastic opportunity to get our name out there in a unique and collaborative way. So I didn't have to develop the beer, but at the end of the day, it gave a lot of consumers understanding of, the better the water, the better the beer. If this is a great water that makes this great beer, then I want to try
Sure.
Ozzy or Nectar Pop or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think about product development as you have to focus as an entrepreneur, right? Focus
Mhm.
is key. And so when we focus on maple products exclusively and utilization of ingredients that benefit our family farms, that benefit consumers and benefit retailers and benefit the environment, if it checks all those boxes, then hell yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah, yeah. How much did you think about just like the brand, the aesthetics? I mean, you have a look and a feel. It's kind
Yeah.
of all over the website and the We Funder campaign and stuff. Obviously behind you, just the labeling and stuff. Just what was sort of the thought patterns behind branding and look and feel and I'm assuming you want to stand out on that aisle, right? Amongst the competitors. So how do you just sort of think about branding for the company?
It's kind of funny because I love bright primary colors, and I,
Hmm.
I I think when a brand needs to be fun, and we're talking about a serious thing, right? Which is water conservation and environmental responsibility, and no one wants to get hit in the face with, you're doing the wrong thing all the time, right? Because look,
Right.
we're all eco sinners, so to speak,
Hmm.
right? We
Yeah.
we all try our best, and
Yeah.
sometimes we just can't, with whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
And so I wanted it to be a fun, engaging brand. So very bright colors, something fun, like the name Asarasi, is the Latin for the maple tree. And so, if
Mhm.
you say with an Italian accent, it's a lot of and the litmus test for any of this was my kids. And to say,
Yeah.
if you saw this on this, in a grocery store, what would be your reaction? And so I wanted to give, that fun, enjoyable, delicious experience wrapped up in a serious conversation,
Sure.
a little win,
Sure.
a
Sure.
little serious.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what was the thought pattern around doing a WeFunder campaign? I know you mentioned just a minute ago that you did a Kickstart. Was it some of the same mindset of sort of testing the waters, just literally putting the toe in the water? But what was some of the conversations around using a crowdfunding platform to raise some capital?
Yeah, we have had a successful fundraise on Republic in our past history about 5 years ago. And
Okay.
so we raised two tranches right around the max, which was I think 0.07 million. So we had a
Yeah.
very successful collective combined campaign there. And what I found from that campaign was that investors that came into that campaign were very passionate about what we were doing
Mm-hmm.
and are engaged. They buy our products. They become your representative agent at the dinner table, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you have someone that's passionate, committed, and they're brand owners in any respect, whether that's at $100 level or $100,000 level, they're committed to sharing, talking, and giving you exposure. And that's a really powerful part of an investor base. Not every investor does that. From whether you're going to venture capital, private equity, and really at the end of the day, I believe it takes a community to build a brand. And
Yeah.
so if we can have our community invest in us and build our business alongside them with their partnership and that's a great win for both of us.
Sure, sure, sure. I want to talk a little bit about just maybe a retail investor maybe looking at beverage brands, not so much you specifically or your deal, but just what would a retail investor kind of need to know or understand a little bit about this type of industry? Is it, obviously we talked online sales, retail sales. Is it long sales cycles? Is it more product? Like what are the things that they just might not know if they were just looking at a beverage brand in general that they should be thinking about if they were considering investing?
Yeah, I think that the primary things that anyone should look at in any business, whether it's a beverage co or others, is the obvious, due diligence. Look at your
Mhm.
numbers, look at your, the tailwinds and where that company's headed. Because sometimes past performance, as they say, is not an indicator of future result, but that works both directions,
Sure.
right? So you might be having great success one day and not having
Mhm.
any success in some industries. And in our case, it's like we're growing with this massive tailwinds of major retail adoption. So what I would suggest that people do when they look at any company, but especially companies in the CPG landscape, is look at the retailer adoption as the litmus
Mm.
test. If you don't have a brand that has staying power or the potential thereof, if you don't have a product that tastes delicious, that isn't going to resonate with consumers, they're not going to bring you in. It
Right.
costs retailers, especially a national retailer like Sprouts. Sprouts Farmer Market is the leading health and wellness retailer in the world, and by and large, one of the most successful. And so for them to say, we're going to take your product line and put this on the shelf, Nectar Pop is going next to Olipop and Poppy in their mainline soda set. That's like saying you're next to Coca-Cola if you're, a bad for you soda brand. But in this
Hmm.
case, they're saying you can go toe to toe with these multi-billion dollar giants and we believe that because they have declining sales, that you're going to
Yeah.
help us lift our
Mm.
sales and our opportunities for retail and help us win, which helps you win. And so I
Right.
think that, Costco Los Angeles or Wakefern being the largest cooperative grocery store in the country, these are really strong, solid indicators of the opportunities that we have ahead of us. And we're just
Hmm.
getting started, so
Yeah.
it's we've hired the national broker agents to go out there and work the business and retail opportunities for us with us. And you'll see a ton of expansion as a result. So right now we have about 1,000 doors committed for launches over the next 60 to 90 days, which is exciting.
Mm.
A lot of work, but very exciting. And this is what, the need for the We Fund raise, and cash is necessary. So,
That's
it's
cool.
just why we're, growing and the cash
That's
is
great.
necessary. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you seeing now, this is kind of for my own self knowledge here. I'm seeing a lot in the alcoholic brand space being very challenging to raise right now with so many younger generations not going to alcohol right now and kind of moving into the non-alcoholic spirits and or cocktail mixers without alcohol in it and stuff. Are you guys sort of seeing something similar just in terms of trends or patterns behind the scenes of like more beverages like what you guys are creating because the younger people are just not going to alcohol as much or anything like that right now? Are you guys seeing something like that too?
Well, generally speaking, the better for you, and I like to call our products best for you because
Mm.
there's a big difference between what's existing in the market and what we're offering to the market now. But we are seeing a significant difference in the consumer shopping and consumer consumption behaviors.
Mm.
So those behaviors are, hey, you know what? I can have a mocktail. A lot of our customers online, for example, buy our products as a way to stay engaged in the conversation. If you go out and you want to have a drink or you're at a party, you want to have a drink, you don't have to have boring cranberry and soda, right?
Right.
You
Hmm.
who wants to talk about that? You're like,
Yeah.
I'm drinking, nectar pop. This came from, inside a tree. That's really,
Right. Right. Yeah.
this is all about how consumers want to be part of your story and they want to feel connected and brand loyal. And I think because there's consumer behaviors that are happening right now, which is they want to be a part of a company that has a authentic impact
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
incredible product. So,
Yeah.
I think we check all those boxes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. What are things that maybe beverage brands like yourself could maybe even could trip up on? Could things that you have to kind of watch out for in this space? Just trying to think about like, hey, if you see this, this is how we're going to pivot, or what are some of those things that could exist in this space that could trip you up?
There's lots of things, but over the course of, almost 10 years doing this, been through the school of hard knocks, which is makes me somewhat of a quasi expert. There's always something there's always gotcha somewhere, right? It's the
Right.
the big print giveth, small print taketh away. Um, from an industry perspective, there is such a thing as bad retail, right? And so if you walk into a retailer meeting and they're demanding slotting and free goods and promotions and advertisements and off shelf displays and all sorts of other, here's 100 grand for cooler placement, and I've seen it all. And you don't run the even back of the napkin calculations of what's your break even? What's
Mm.
your market opportunity? What's my ROI on this retailer? And how do I support them and be a good partner to them? But how do they become a good partner to us? Because it's a
Sure.
two-way
Sure.
street. And so, and I always use the anecdote if we can't be a good financial partner to you, and you can't be a good retailer to us. And
Right.
so, in common sense terms, a lot of retailers understand that sometimes their ask is too big. And so the big takeaway for me is I've said no to going in, say, Safeway, Albertsons. I don't want to pay $25,000 a region. I have the luxury of being placed on shelf for maybe 3 to 6 months. And if they
Mm.
decide that, you don't like you one day because there's something hot or better or newer comes along, and that does happen on occasion, then you've
Right.
just lost $100,000 of slotting for 4 reasons.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not just financial though, it's also the branded creative positioning. So
Hmm.
do you wanna be in Circle K markets, right?
Right.
or do you want to
Yeah.
be in National and Whole Foods?
Hmm.
And where do you want your customer to find you, believe in you, and care about you the most? And who's going to
Yeah.
be your biggest fan? So I look at a lot of different things when I think about retail.
Yeah. Did you put together sort of a buyer persona early on that said we really want this type of customer, or did you just worry about just the product itself, grow that, and then think about the customer that you think would enjoy it?
No, I put together a profile of the consumer because it's easy to say our product is for everyone because
Sure. Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
drinking
Yeah.
your own Kool-Aid, right? It's no, your product is not for everyone. And once you come to understand that, and then you focus on your core consumer, I believe our consumer is a health and wellness consumer. Men and women between mid 20s, mid 40s that really has you know a reasonable expendable household income that it enjoys discovery of new products on the shelf, that is looking to advance their life in a better way, that's going to help them focus on their health and their family's wellness too. And
Hmm.
so when you start to like create these archetypes around who is your core consumer, then it becomes a lot easier to talk to them.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's how I think about the core consumer. And of course it's easy to look at the industry and say, I'm going to go after that customer, or that audience that, so and so created. But
Hmm.
I think being true to who we are is that sometimes you find customers that no one else found before with your
Right.
innovations.
Right.
So they
Sure.
become loyal fans.
Yeah. How do you guys approach marketing just in general? Are you guys, is it more of a word of mouth because you're in retail and hoping for that? Or is it, do you look at paid ads? Do you look at, I guess articles around health and wellness and just trying to have more like that type of maybe SEO? How do you guys just think about marketing and how do you guys attack it?
Well, marketing is a funny word for we don't know the metrics, right? Because it's very hard to assess impact and
Sure.
conversion and impression, right? Met a lot of CMOs in my time, and if you ask them how do you measure success, they'll give you a bunch of gobbledygook that's all marketing speak for we don't know. And so I like to think about it as where do you make the most impression on a consumer where they live, where they work, and where they shop, and
Yeah.
where they eat. And so being present is the first step. And then being and available and at the right price and at the right promoted price. And
Mm,
so, a lot of our advertising dollar goes into the shelf. Is
mm,
that's where people shop, right? And
yeah.
everyone shops by price, no matter how great or how low your income in. Everyone has a budget, and
Hmm.
sometimes things, we don't have a problem spending, $20 on an omelet at a diner, but spend $10 for 12 organic eggs. Oh my god. You know what I mean? So, there's a little bit of psychology involved in capturing the consumer in the mindset that they're in at the time that they're in it. So,
Hmm.
food service is a great opportunity for us because when people dine out and they see your brand in a limited assortment in a cold cooler or in a deli or a grab and go box, they're making memories with their friends, their colleagues, their family at the time that they're breaking bread with them, and that
Sure.
becomes memorable. In the grocery store, it becomes, hey, can I capture your attention with our advertisement and investment in promotions where, hey, maybe it's a 2 for 4 deal or a buy one get one
Hmm.
free or something like that where people,
Sure.
that brand to try. I've never seen this. This is interesting. And
Mm,
suddenly,
mm,
sips to lips is what they say in the beverage industry. That's what matters. And you got to get that accomplished, and you can't be everywhere at once. So your
sure.
has to do the talking.
Yeah.
We invest heavily at retail in the promotion area, in the marketing area there with the retailers because they know how to capture that consumer way better than we can. And that's one aspect. The other aspect is I've asked a longtime incredible friend of mine, Akua Rakateta, who's actually one of the primary members of Florence and the Machine. I don't know if you're familiar with,
I am. Yeah. Very familiar. Yeah.
but he's been with Florence for now I think 9 or 10 years and been a part of that success and in his own right been very successful. And so as a longtime family friend, I asked him to join the business about a year and a half ago. And so
Mm,
he is connecting the dots with a variety of different celebrity network influence
mm,
types that have
hmm.
expressed a tremendous interest in being a part of the brand because our brand identity is very good for the celebrity persona. It's meaningful. It's like, I stand for the environment. I stand for sustainability. I stand for water
Hmm.
conservation. I stand for delicious drinks. You can pick any one of these things and it feels good for their own
Yeah.
persona. And so
Certainly.
seeing a lot of people from that come to us. And so we're starting this group called the Asarasi Paparazzi, which is a lot of fun to say. Again,
Yeah.
whimsical,
It's a
right?
mouthful.
Yeah. Whimsical, but yet serious. Right? And it's all about connecting people. Whether it's your celebrity status or you're the average everyday, Joe and Joe Schmo walking down the
Hmm.
street saying, hey, I want to be part of something that's bigger than me. To me, that's the exciting part. So we are connecting college age audiences with internship opportunities to go out there and talk about our products, sample our products,
Mm,
promote our products. We're connecting with celebrities to do the same thing. So bottoms up, top down.
that's great.
The Q's leading the charge there. And so yeah, it's been fantastic working with the Q. So when I think about marketing, it's not just promote, sell, distribute,
Right.
it's about connecting your audience through grassroots activism.
Sure. Yeah, that's good. I think that's perfect for what you guys are working on, is the brand and all that sort of that like completely is a great straight line. A couple more questions that we'll wrap this up. I'll
Yes.
get you back into the fundraising here. I'd love to kind of talk a little bit about just what is like, big milestones. What's 6 months look like, a year from now, maybe even 18 months out? What are those big milestones you're trying to hit?
Well, firstly, we have projections from some major retailers on what they're going to sell, which is very
Mhm.
exciting because, we were sub $500,000, in the trailing 12. We analyze our just for transparency, we analyze internally our sales not on a January to December basis, but an August to August basis because we straddle the curve of seasonality in the cold beverage industry.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're not capturing the accurate growth pattern of the business. And so, in that August to August timeframe from August 24 to 25, sub $500,000 in revenue, uh, to go from that same period to go to a couple $1,000,000 in revenue, or and or this year we're expecting something along the line of anywhere from 1.5 to 2 million in total revenues. And these are being very conservative because the forecast that we're getting from these retailers is much higher than that. And I
Mm.
want to be very cautious with retail investors, especially on an SEC Reg CF funding like we're doing on WeFunder, is that I'd rather under promise and over deliver, right?
Sure.
And to
Hmm.
me, that's how I operate. So I'm not just going to sit there and BS someone and say, oh yeah, now we're going to be $100 million next year. And I look at it through the lens of where we're going, and so we're getting forecasts just from Sprouts of 2.6 million in retail sales,
Mm.
which we should see about 50 to 60% of that as
Yeah.
wholesale orders. About 800,000 to a million in retail sales from Wakefern. 500,000 to a million in retail sales from Costco. So, you know, this is the growth that we're headed on. So looking forward 12 months, 18 months, it's not just about revenue. To me, that is the least important function of our business. Is sales and marketing is the most important function of our business, which generates revenue.
Hmm.
The milestones that we're looking forward to are success in those retail channels. In terms of repeat purchase, consumer adoption, and loyalty that happens over a longer period of time. And so these are just the exciting pieces of the business that we're.
That's great. That's great. Well, where can people dive in? Obviously, we've talked about WeFunder. We haven't mentioned any links or anything like that. Well, where should people go to just to dive in, learn more about what you guys are doing, check it all out, and just kind of dive in? Where should we send people?
Yeah. So if you're watching the podcast, I would say go to wefunder.com/Asarasi, ASARASI. We're also on the homepage under new. Interestingly, this week we've now raised over 135,000 in a week since launch. So we're number 4 in the amount raised on their platform this week, and trending on their site, which is great. You're going
Mhm.
to find all the details of the business, and it's not just about the pretty pitch decks and the fluff and stuff that everybody
Mhm.
says, look at me, how beautiful we are. But then there's the Form C for the filing with the SEC is there. The financials are there. The third party reviewed financials. We're raising I think up to 618,000 on this current round as a bridge to our Series A.
Mhm.
And we can push past that should we get close to that fundraising, which I'm optimistic we will, given the trajectory we're on right now. And if anyone has any questions that they want answered, they can reach right out to me right on the WeFunder platform. They can also email me directly, and go right to orders@asarazi.com. And I see every single one of those emails, and I respond to every single one with any consumer question. And happy to publish a special coupon for your audience to try our products 50% off for a period of
Awesome.
time.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Well, all my listeners out there, you guys know, if you guys have seen the content, we've got we'll have a lot of links in the show notes. And I appreciate you taking time out of your day. This is a great conversation. We got through our early tech hiccups there, but we figured it all out. I think we had a really good episode. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. This is a really cool product. Love what you're
Oh,
doing. Love what you stand for. This
so
is really cool stuff. I appreciate it.
thanks for having me. This has been great. I really appreciate the time as well, Jeff.
Awesome.
Looking
Thanks so
forward to it.
much.
Take care.